With school getting underway, we all want our kids to have the best education and our teachers to have the best support. To that end, the Education Fund has something called the Teach-A-Thon. Here to explain it is Stacey de la Grana, VP of Programs with the Education Fund, and also we have a Teach-A-Thon volunteer, Jose Mallea. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us. It's exciting to be here.
Yes, very exciting. Thank you, Gayle.
All right, so let's start with what the Teach-A-Thon is and how it got started.
Okay. The Teach-A-Thon started about 11 years ago.
And okay.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. And what we do is a Teach-A-Thon is a walk-a-thon with a twist, except you're not walking or training to run a marathon. Mm-hmm. You are training to go teach a class for an hour and step in the shoes of a teacher and see what it's like to be a teacher. So it's an awareness campaign, just like, any run would be or
Sure.
walk, about the importance of teachers and about how difficult their jobs are. And once we get business professionals to step into the shoes, they really get to see what these teachers do that, is so important and it's so hard. But it's also a fundraising campaign. And so spreading the message, we do that through an online program called First Giving, and you would send out your pages to people and say, how many minutes do you think I can last in the classroom? I'm teaching in Mr. Mallea's class, and I'm going to be doing history with third graders. So, it's really amazing. And, one time we had the CEO of Burger King at the time.
Oh, my goodness.
And I had gone and, because he was a bigwig, and I was running the program, and I went and I took pictures of him, and he came up to me afterwards. He was teaching at a middle school, actually in Miami Springs, and he came up to me afterwards and said, I can't, this is harder than my regular job. I don't know how they do this, So they really get a sense of how difficult it is to get up for an hour and entertain and keep these kids engaged. So it's a really great program.
Okay, so now, I obviously have convinced many people that are listening right now. How do they get involved with this? And it's just a question of you only have to teach 1 hour.
You only teach 1 hour,
Okay.
and you can get involved by going to educationfund.org. Again, that's educationfund.org, and look for the Teach-A-Thon on our website. There is an application that you can fill out. It's very simple. You can choose what location you want to be in Miami-Dade County. You can choose high school, middle, elementary, and subject area too. And then we have teachers that sign up, and those teachers are matched with the business professionals, and the teachers, help guide them and tell them, what kinds of lessons might be good in their classroom and relevant to the grade level. And the money that the teacher champions, the volunteers, the business professionals raise, half of that goes back to the participating teachers. So last year, each teacher got a check for $200.
Oh,
and
that's great.
it's a grant.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And, as we know, teachers, they spend out of pocket $500 to $1,000 each year.
Supplies alone.
So the $200 may sound small, but it goes a long way for these teachers.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think for anyone who has any sort of interest in our education system, whether you're a parent, a business owner, just a leader in your community, you enjoy volunteering, this is an excellent way to really get a perspective for what happens in the classroom. I personally have benefited tremendously from the experience. I am a passionate volunteer now for the Education Fund, and I've been talking to friends of mine, helping to recruit others, because I think it's important for all of us to give back to our education system, but it's also what we take away. I think we take away a completely different perspective of the challenges that teachers have in the classroom day in and day out, and how significant, how important it is for us to continue to support them. And what the Education Fund does so well, which I really admire, is that they support the teachers directly with these resources that go to them from the Teach-A-Thon, bunch of other programs that they have, grant programs, innovation grants, the Ocean Bank Center where they can get supplies. But this one in particular is a wonderful opportunity because those resources that are raised go directly back to the teachers.
So I was reading here, and now I understand that you not only taught 1 or 2 hours, but you got carried away and did a whole day.
I did. So I'll tell you, yeah.
But see, I think this has a little to do with your background because I also understand you worked at the White House during the Bush administration.
I did.
Okay.
So I'm a product.
Around.
Yeah, I'm a product of Dade County Public Schools. Okay. I went to Jose Marti Middle School, and I graduated from Hialeah Miami-Dade Senior High School in 1995. And I will tell you, those experiences really made a huge difference in my life. The education that I received, not just what I learned in the classroom, but the teachers that impacted my life. My biggest impact was my band director in high school, Mr. Elois George. Hopefully he's listening. He probably is because he likes the station. But Mr. George was a tremendous impact, but he led me to then pursue other opportunities beyond music and in government and politics. And I got involved at a young age, got to go to D.C., worked at the White House, came back, worked for the mayor of Miami, eventually worked for Senator Rubio, and so on and so forth, and then eventually started my own business. Decided I wanted to be a brewer, open a craft brewery, but none of that would have happened if it hadn't been for those teachers. None of that would have happened if they had not taught me those incredibly valuable lessons about myself, to be confident, to have that discipline, that work ethic, leadership, all those things. So because of that, the minute that this opportunity came up, and I actually connected with you guys through beer. It was a friend who
Did
said,
you say
hey,
through beer?
Through beer,
Okay.
through beer. They said, hey, can you help us with one of our big events, donate some beer to us? I was like, yeah, I'll donate the beer. And then, the staff was busy doing other stuff. I was like, education fund. Knew a little bit about them, but I was like, let me go see what this event is about. I went, and I was hooked. And from then, it's been just a great partnership the last almost 3-4 years now. But that led to volunteering for the Teach-A-Thon. And I'll tell you, as much as I thought I knew about what happens in the classroom, having been a student 20 plus years ago, it is nothing compared to what you see when you have to spend a day with that teacher. And even then, I get to take a little break to make some phone calls. They don't. And it was just, there's so many things that we could probably do a whole set of shows, but from how little time they have for themselves, because they're completely vested in these students while they're in the classroom, during the break, in between classes, and even during lunch. So those teachers sometimes don't even have time to eat. And I remember one specific case, one of the teachers said, hey, let's go to lunch. I'm like, great. It reminded me of my high school days. We were speeding down 199th Street to get to the Pollo Tropical, to hit the drive-thru, to order our 3 meals, 2 teachers and myself, to rush back to the school, run up the stairs, get to the classroom. And when we're about to sit down to eat, 10 minutes before the bell rings, a kid comes in that needs something. And of course, the teacher's first priority was helping that kid out. And he said, hey guys, put mine in the refrigerator. I'll eat after school. Never ate. I get grumpy when I don't eat. So,
Same here.
and I'm like, wow, it was just, and even myself, I had 10 minutes to scarf down my meal. Anyway, that's just one example. But what happens in those classrooms is amazing. What what teachers do, and their commitment beyond the classroom, right? Whether it's during that break in lunch or even after school. So many of them give their own personal time to teach, to tutor, or even to run programs, whether it's, mock trial or be a wrestling coach or a volleyball coach. Anyway, it was all of that perspective is something that I was able to walk away from the experience. So anyone who's listening, educationfund.org, go on, find a way to make a little bit of time. 1 hour you'll take away from a lot. The whole day can be incredibly helpful.
And just that 1 hour, so that you will get lunch. Now
you do get lunch. I actually did get to eat my lunch. I was like, I'm gonna excuse myself for a few more minutes here. Finish my black beans and rice and my chicken from Pollo Tropical, but.
All right, so that does give us a really good picture of what someone can do, the difference they can make by giving of an hour. That's all.
And Gayle, I did want to mention, this is not career day. We do not have people come in and tell, what they do for a career. They literally teach a lesson.
So do they give them the lesson plan that they go over, or how does that work?
The teacher can either give you the lesson plan, or you can come up with the lesson plan. A lot of the banks, and I'd like to thank Wells Fargo because they're our major sponsor, as well as Saposnick Insurance, our 2 major sponsors. I know Saposnick Insurance, people will go in there and talk about healthy eating and, how to be healthy. And a lot of the bankers, they have a curriculum already. But if you don't worry about it, because, if you're out there and you want to participate, Your teacher will help you find a lesson. There's plenty on the web. So don't be deterred because of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think what's really neat is they will turn that classroom over to you. In one case, one of the times, the teacher actually walked out of the classroom, and I got real nervous. Like, I'm here by myself. I'm in charge.
The kids are going to take control.
But you know what they did? They were very respectful. They listened. I had noticed in the previous class how she dealt with a couple of kids that were talking out of turn. I did the same exact thing, and it worked. I was like, all right, well.
Okay, so what grade were you teaching at the time?
So the first time I did it was a 9th grade class at Norland Senior High School.
Okay.
And the kids were really interested. There we talked a little bit about entrepreneurship, starting a business, what that's like. And when they saw my bio, then in the Q&A, they asked a couple of questions about government and politics. At the time, there was an election going on. They asked for my perspective. I was dead wrong on who was going to win. But, it was an interesting conversation that they were that in tune. And it showed me something. Today, our high schoolers, they really know a lot about what's happening in the world because of the internet. Right?
Oh, yeah.
We were in the 90s, we kind of knew a little bit here and there because of the news. Maybe we read a newspaper from time to time, but these kids were incredibly in tune, not just with politics, but what was happening in Silicon Valley and trends in business. And I was really surprised. So that was really encouraging. Last year, it was a 7th grade, Miss Bianca Hara at Miami Springs Middle School. 7th grade class, and it was she had several classes, but a couple classes she had were special needs kids. And it was really interesting how she managed to make that all work, how the kids helped each other out. There were some kids who had some physical challenges, sight impairment, hearing impairment, other challenges, and the kids in the class were helping those other kids. And that was really touching to see that, how they cared about their classmates, how they made that part of their day, something that I would have never have experienced had I not been in that classroom. And then also realized how much they need our schools need a lot of resources. It's easy to say sometimes, hey, we need more funding for education. And sometimes taxpayers, everyone loves education. They're like, well, how can they give so much more? They're already getting all this money. But the truth is, they could always give more because it doesn't matter what they have. They could always do more. There's always more resources. Sometimes it's, I remember in Miami Springs, one of the challenges was their computer equipment was lacking. So they'd have to share computers. Computers would go down. There were students that were serving as computer techs. I am not exaggerating. Some of these kids knew how to fix these computers, and they would go around. But that's what they have to do, right? They have limited resources, and it's everyone. The teachers are trying their best. The administrators are trying their best. But at the end of the day, that is something that you would not know if you were not spending time in that classroom. So I encourage anyone who's excited or interested in the area of education to take advantage of the opportunity and do it. And then on top of that, like Stacey was mentioning, you get to start this page. You get to fundraise from your friends and your coworkers, and you get to give a little bit of money back to that classroom.
Okay, so in terms of fundraising, would you hit up all your friends and say, hey, I'm going to go teach, you want to sponsor me, or how does that work?
I did. I sent it to friends, to colleagues, just like Stacey mentioned, sometimes when you're out there and you're running a 5K or you're doing a walk-a-thon, you send that email out that says, hey, I'm doing this for the American Cancer Society or for this group, and your friends say, okay, yeah, I'll donate, $20, $50, $10, whatever you can do. Believe it or not, that adds up. And by the time you're done, you've got, several $100s that you've raised. And if there's, I don't know how many, what was the number last year, Stacey?
We raised $78,000, actually.
Nice.
And
that's great.
And that was just one year.
Yeah, we had close to 200 business professionals last year. And our goal this year is 200 business professionals or more people listening.
Yeah, another great thing, and I give a lot of credit to Sapoznik Insurance, Wells Fargo, not just because they're sponsors. Sometimes sponsors will write a check and they're done.
Yeah.
These guys send their staff out there, which is really important because then, they have a little bit of skin in the game too, and their employees realize, hey, it's important for you to be active in your community, for you to give back, and for you to be aware of what's happening out there. So anyone who's listening that's a business owner and feels like, hey, we want to do something as a team that we'd like to give back to the community, this is a perfect opportunity as well.
And a lot of the, we'll see relationships formed with the teacher and the business professional, and the business professional will actually request that teacher for the next year. And we've even, like Rachel Sapoznik, who's president of Sapoznik Insurance, she went to a school and, it was a very low-income school. They didn't have toilet paper, and she basically adopted this school and is now making sure they have toilet paper and all the resources that they need. So a lot of these people really do get involved and really see the reality of our public school system and the reality of being a teacher.
So that hour can change everybody's lives.
Correct.
Absolutely.
All right, so when can people actually teach? What are the dates?
The dates are October 15th through December 15th. So you can pick any day you want. It's at your discretion, what day you want to choose. You work that out with the teacher, what time you want to choose, and literally it's 50 minutes to an hour that you're going to teach a lesson.
So you could basically go for lunchtime, go teach, and then go back to work.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's a wonderful way to get involved with the public school system and really see where our tax money is going.
When somebody signs up and they go online and they apply, is it there where they give their date, or do they get a response back and then everything gets worked out?
No, you go ahead and you apply online, and then we match you up with the teacher. Then we do a kickoff at the Biltmore. We're doing one on October 1st.
Okay.
With beer, yes, from Biscayne Bay Brewery.
Said the brewery owner.
That's an incentive for people to come. Like,
Yes.
at least I'll get a beer out of it. No, I'm just
Yes,
kidding.
and we have wine for those non-beer drinkers too, and food, and so people can network, and that's where they meet their teacher. It's wonderful. We do some educational activities with them that are interactive to let them know, about the education fund, about the Teach-A-Thon, what the message is. And it's just from there, the teachers and the business professional, they will decide on a date. And again, between October 15th and December 15th, you can pick any day of the week and, whatever time works out for you.
Now, how do you match up a volunteer with a teacher? How does that work?
Well, it's a complicated process, actually. It's based on where, say, Jose signs up and he wants to work somewhere down south. Okay.
Sure, like location's gonna be
and he
primary.
wants middle school and he wants to teach English. So I've got to find a teacher who, fits that criteria. So it's a long time, and you sit there with zip code maps and you figure it out.
Wow.
I wish there was maybe one of these students that's computer proficient can come up with a program
Absolutely.
for me
Well,
to do this.
Honestly, what I did both years, I kind of just said, put me anywhere,
Yeah.
any classroom, anywhere in the county. And actually it was pretty cool because I got to go to two very different schools. I got to go to Norland and get a completely different experience with high schoolers, and then Miami Springs Middle with middle schoolers and some kids with challenges. So it was a really cool experience. So this year, who knows? Maybe I'll end up in Homestead and I could cover the whole gamut of the county.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that.
I was going to
unless
say,
you have no way
those
else.
are the hardest ones to match up, or the ones
It's so
down
far
south.
south. It's a
I was
long
getting
drive, but
very
hey.
excited, Jose.
No, I'll do it. I'll go to Homestead.
Okay, everybody note that, please.
All right, so the kickoff party's October 1. Teaching dates are October 15th through December 15th, and it's educationfund.org. Is there also a phone number if somebody wants to call instead?
Yes, there is.
And I want you to put it on the spot.
Yeah, I don't
have a phone number in
okay,
front of me. It's
please.
305-558-4544, extension 108. I
Correct.
believe that's it. So as a fundraiser, do you have a goal in mind for this year?
Our goal is always, to exceed what we did the year before, the previous year. Last year we raised 78. I mean, I think this year we really would like to raise 100,000. So
Wow.
Yeah. We just set our standards high, and teachers would get a lot more money if we could raise that amount. So
let's talk a little bit more about the education fund. Now, I know you have a lot of different programs going on, and it's not just the Teach-A-Thon, although that obviously is a huge thing, and you're making a whole lot of money for Miami-Dade schools. What is the Food Forest for Schools?
Food Forest for Schools is actually an amazing program that is being used as a model around the country. We started off, I would say, before Michelle Obama got her garden, and put gardens in schools, back again, before Obama became president. Mm-hmm. And we started putting gardens in school because we realized that Florida had a very high child obesity rate. And so we put it in there really for nutrition, but then it became integrated into the curriculum over the years so that students could go out and they could measure plants. They could do math. They could do science.
Really
they
cool.
could journal out there. They could, do art classes. So what we do is we ran a bunch of workshops to teach the teachers how to use the garden as an outside laboratory, and the art teachers would get involved and make signs, and they were very proud of this. And then we started to move into food forest, and we chose schools that already had our garden program, and I believe we have about 51 to 52 garden programs, and we have over 20 food forests now. But we started, and a food forest is actually taking all the surrounding land around the schools and literally turning it into an edible forest. Okay, so that we've got all sorts of different exotic plants that are growing out there. We do cooking lessons. As a matter of fact, one of the program managers for it went to Johnson & Wales and is a professional chef. And so she works with the teachers, to create healthy meals. And we're even getting the cafeteria staff to incorporate the things from the food forest into the school lunches. So that's been a tremendous, breakthrough for us.
Sure. Now, the food forest, what are we talking about? Lettuce and tomato?
All sorts of really amazing stuff. Some lettuce, right? But all sorts of fruits, vegetables, even things. I had a chance to visit one of the food forests. I think it was Twin Lakes, right?
Yeah,
in
Twin
Hialeah.
Lakes.
And let me tell you, I was impressed not just of the variety of food that was on the plants, but the knowledge that the kids had. Second and third graders walking you through, telling you, "Oh, this is delicious." And if you take this, and they'll pull one, and if you take this leaf or this fruit and you mix it together, it's fantastic. And they would eat it. I was like, "This is amazing." And also, the kids were telling me that sometimes they get to take, and actually, I think our program directors were saying they get to take the food home.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, we do send. Thank you for mentioning that. That was one of our things, is to send the food home, because the food forests are in schools that are basically in food deserts.
Okay.
Where there
No
is
supermarkets.
Right. I mean, a lot of these kids, it's elementary. A lot of these kids don't realize that tomatoes grow on vines, or potatoes grow in the ground, because they see it, they don't know. And they are eating healthy. And we also have a parental component, because we know that it can't just stop with the kids. So we do some parent workshops, and again, send home bags full of harvested vegetables.
And there's that many vegetables that these kids can take them home.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yes.
The forests themselves are really cool, because you don't realize it. Most of these landscapes, when you see the before pictures, they were barren landscapes. So they were not even, the areas weren't that attractive, right? In the center of open schools, all of a sudden they're plush, beautiful colors, flowers, plants, and they wrap around. It's like it's almost like a nature trail that wraps all the way around the school. And the kids love it. They take such pride in it.
They do.
The only thing that keeps popping into my mind, as living here all my life, bugs. How do they deal with the bugs? Bugs get into fruits and vegetables all the time.
Well, we don't use any chemicals or anything, but I think, we have gardeners that actually, professional gardeners that go in.
Other than marigolds, I know that's the natural thing that keeps away pests, but I don't know.
And I think the staff is also very thoughtful about what they put in each place. So I think they look at some fruits that are not going to create too much
in a very arid climate,
exactly.
or if you've got shade, you've really got, there's a lot of things to consider.
Yeah.
It was really neat. It's great. So I think that's definitely one of the national models or big success stories.
Yeah. We have won numerous awards for that program, and we're getting national attention. So it's really been great. Right now, we're working with the Marlins. Just gave us a $25,000 grant.
Nice.
Credit to the Marlins for doing that.
So we're really
huge.
excited about that.
So are you continuing to grow, so to speak, more schools?
Absolutely. Our goal when we first started this program with the gardens was to have a garden in every elementary school.
Wow.
But now we're really finding that the food forest is the way to go.
So now you're leaning more toward the food forest versus just a garden.
Yes.
So the food forest, if it's a food forest, that means it's feeding as well as a laboratory versus just a garden.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's more about feeding everybody as
fun.
well as being a science lab.
Right.
Okay, so Ideas with Impact, what's that?
Ideas with Impact is a program that we do that includes grants for teachers to do innovative projects.
Oh, okay.
It provides grants for teachers to do other teachers' projects that have been successful. It also includes a 600 teacher conference that we do every year with breakout rooms, and it's teachers teaching other teachers. We're not getting people that are, teaching in universities. We're getting teachers teaching other teachers, and on everything, elementary, middle, high school. We have art, we have science, we have social studies. We do a lot with robotics.
Wow.
And these teachers actually pay for it. We provide them with breakfast and lunch. Okay. They come out and on a Saturday, and they get master plan points, which they need. Sure. And we get about, anywhere from 600 to 800 teachers.
But then there's an application process for grants.
Right.
And then the grants are funded, and we have some amazing partners that help to fund those grants. And those grants range from, I think,
anywhere from 500 to like 1,500. I mean, they're small grants, but
every little bit helps.
And with that, some teachers have started robotics programs. Different. Yeah. I mean, I was amazed. There was a bunch of entrepreneurship stuff. So everything from essential oils program. There was one on just social studies and sort of mock elections. And it's just every teacher's got amazing ideas.
Creative.
Yeah, they're very creative, and they do these programs. They're funded, and then they turn into these amazing success stories that are duplicated in other schools.
I am just amazed at the programs, and this is all under the Education Fund.
It is.
Right.
It's just different ways to fund education.
Right, exactly.
And to support the Miami-Dade
Exactly.
public schools.
I mean, the Education Fund is about supporting Miami-Dade County Public Schools and really getting the private sector involved with public education. So that's what we're all about. We run another amazing program. It's called the Ocean Bank Center for Educational Materials. Our main sponsor, thank you, is Ocean Bank.
I would figure that.
And that started right after Hurricane Andrew. The district came to us and said, look, we're getting, things shipped into the port from all over the country, from all over the world, school supplies, we have no way to distribute it. So Ocean Bank, came to us and said, they were on our board and said, we will fund a warehouse for a year. And so that we can distribute this. And so now, years later, I believe we're celebrating our 25th year this year. We have an 11,000 square foot warehouse in Medley, right off of the Palmetto. And we see over 2,000 teachers per year. They have to make an appointment online, educationfund.org, and go to Ocean Bank Center. And they make an appointment and they come, and everything has a point value. So you may pick up reams of paper that are 5 points per ream, and
Okay.
you're allotted 100 points. And we have shopping carts, and
So
they
they
take
go in
the,
and they
just go
shop
in-
with their
they
points.
whatever they
shop
need,
with
yeah,
their
yeah.
points, and they get paper, they get pencils.
But there's a ton of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
There's like stuff donated from furniture stores.
Yeah.
There's stuff donated from sporting goods. I mean,
It's
have
like a
there's
big-
book bags. Sometimes they pick up things that their kids need, right? Like lunch boxes.
Oh,
They might have
absolutely.
students that don't have a lunch box. They'll pick up a bunch of lunch boxes.
This is Stacey de la Grana and Jose Mallea with the Teach-A-Thon. Go to educationfund.org. Get the information you need. And thank you both for being here.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.